Weekly World News on Spring Nectar TV, brought to you by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. First, the top headlines. Joe Biden unleashed new budget. FDA approves second booster for people over 50. India and China don't see common ground on LAC. Two-day nationwide strike a glimpse. Ukraine under Russian invasion, a summary as of day 33. UK to address rapid surge in coronavirus cases. Police find lockdown breachers. Shanghai executes phased lockdown. Moving on to news in detail. On Monday, the Biden administration revealed the latest budget. One of the key proposals was the billionaire minimum income tax. The tax, as it is called, is aimed at the richest of the rich and proposes to impose a 20% minimum tax on houses that are valued at over $100 million. This would add over $360 billion over 10 years, and according to the White House, the proposed tax would ensure that the richest Americans do not pay a tax that is lower than that contributed by teachers and firefighters. The $5.8 trillion budget proposed for 2023 also includes affordable housing investments, funding for police and military, and plans to address gun violence and supply chain issues. In the words of President Biden, as said in a statement, "Budgets are statements of values, and the budget I am releasing today sends a clear message that we value fiscal responsibility, safety and security at home and around the world, and the investments needed to continue our equitable growth and build a better America." Meanwhile, on Tuesday, the US FDA approved a second dose of COVID-19 booster for people over the age of 50 and the immunocompromised. According to the director of the FDA Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, current evidence suggests some waning of protection over time against serious outcomes from COVID-19 in older and immunocompromised individuals. Based on an analysis of emerging data, a second booster dose of either the Pfizer-BioNTech or Moderna COVID-19 vaccine could help increase protection levels for these higher-risk individuals. Plans are now on as to when and how the second dose of booster shot will be offered to the cassette category of people. A quick glance at the Oscars. Statistics show that nearly 15.36 million viewers watched the 2022 Oscars, which is a 56% increase in audience as compared to last year. Some of the winners included Coda for Best Picture, Will Smith for Best Actor, No Time to Die for Best Original Song, and Jessica Chastain for Best Actor in the women's category, to name just a few. That said, the moment that turned out the most controversial was the little showdown between Will Smith and presenter Chris Rock.
Uh-oh, Richard! Oh, wow! Wow! Will Smith...
Over to India, negotiation over the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh continued as India urged China to disengage all its troops from the borders. To that end, foreign ministers of the two countries met on Friday to discuss the same. Although the two nations agreed that restoration of peace in border areas is a crucial step towards normalization of ties, not much progress was made on that front. Meanwhile, India went on a two-day strike on March 29 and 30 in protest against the government's anti-people economic and anti-labor worker policies. The strike was called for by a group of central trade unions. Essential services like transportation, banking, and electricity were partially impacted during those 2 days. Several industrial and business sectors participated in the strike, including telecom, postal, banks, oil, and steel, to name a few. Transport and roadways employees too joined the strike. Moving on to the latest on Ukraine. Following negotiation talks over the invasion, a little progress was made on the peace front. To that end, Russia's deputy defense minister stated that the country will decrease its military activity in northern Ukraine. He also added that the move will help advance peace talks as well as increase mutual trust. The decision, however, has failed to impress Western diplomats and experts, as they believe it's nothing but a false promise. This was evident when Ukraine's president stated in a video address, "We can say the signals we are receiving from the talks are positive, but they do not drown out the explosions of Russian shells. The Russian army still has significant potential to continue attacks against our state. Therefore, we are not reducing our defensive efforts. The move is seen by the US as a huge shift in strategy, while the UK believes it to be a positive step towards a peace deal. Over to the Middle East, barely a few days before the Formula One race was scheduled to take place in Saudi, an oil depot was set ablaze. News has it that the attack was executed by Houthi rebels. Although the blaze was not readily acknowledged by Saudi Aramco, the oil company, or by Saudi Arabia, sources say that the attacks could have been made in the light of the existing coalition battle between Houthis and Saudi Arabia. That said, the second Formula One took place on Sunday amidst the burning fire, with authorities rendering no explanation for the blaze. As the Formula One statement read, the position at the moment is that we're waiting for further information from the authorities on what has happened. And in the UK, the number of COVID infections increased by 1 million new cases this week as compared to the previous week. Based on the data revealed by the Office for National Statistics, about 9% of the people in Scotland were reported to be infected with COVID last week. Data also shows an increase in COVID cases in Wales and England. Experts attribute the surge to several factors, including the lifting of COVID restrictions, diminishing immunity, and the emergence of the Omicron subvariant. Meanwhile, the government announced that starting Friday, COVID tests will not be a free service. In other words, people will have to pay to get tested for COVID, irrespective of whether they're symptomatic or not, with the exception of hospitalized patients with COVID symptoms. The news was confirmed by the Health Secretary, who also added that free parking for NHS staff will also come to an end on Friday. On the number 10 parties that breached lockdown rules, the Met Police announced their decision to fine 20 people in its connection. The move poses a threat to Prime Minister Boris Johnson on his stance in failing to uphold health guidelines at the peak of the lockdown. Moving on, an alert from the United Nations states that the number of people in Sudan that would be severely impacted by hunger would double by September. The UN attributes economic crisis, poor harvest, and internal conflict towards the hunger crisis. According to the World Food Programme's country director in Sudan, there are already worrying signs that access, affordability, and the availability of food is shrinking for most people in Sudan, which is pushing more people deeper into poverty and hunger. The UN assessment of the country's harvest revealed that cereal production reduced by over a third, even as food prices showed a steady increase. And in Shanghai, China, COVID caseloads hit overwhelming levels, prompting the need to take drastic measures to curb the spread of the virus. Statistics show that around 3,450 cases were reported on Sunday, which translated to roughly about 70% of the country's total population. Predominantly led by the Omicron variant, infections have skyrocketed, prompting the government to introduce a phased lockdown. To that effect, the eastern region of Shanghai went into lockdown for 5 days starting Monday through Friday, while the eastern side will enter lockdown starting April 1. The lockdowns will keep millions of residents indoors and are expected to control the spread and ensure the health and safety of the people. With that, we come to this week's Did You Know? Did you know that Shakespeare invented over 1,700 words? Shakespeare, the Bard of Avon, is known for his literary prowess. Every poem or play he has written is a masterpiece. And that's not new. But did you know that some of the most commonly used words in our day-to-day expressions and conversations were coined by him? His works often required him to convey his expressions with great precision. And when the extensive English vocabulary did not fit the exact word he was looking for, he created one. And that became a habit until he gave us more than 1,700 words. Some of them are accused, bedroom, circumstantial, dwindle, excitement, impede, and so many more. While you ponder over that last item, I bring you to the end of this week's World News. I'll see you again next Friday with more World News on Spring Nectar TV. Stay safe.